Hello there, it's Sherry, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today I will be sharing how to make this pop-out folded card. We will be using lots and lots of die cuts, doing some ink blending, and let's go ahead and get started. So to begin with, I use the Sunshiny Die clear stamp set. I also used the Enjoy die, which cuts out kind of a little background for the wording, and I just cut it twice and then did some ink blending. And the Tropical Leaves die, and you can see that on the card there. One of my favorite dies, the Hibiscus Die. The Island Die, so happy that it's coming up to summer and we can start using those islands and hibiscus flowers. And then just the double stitch circles die. Okay, so to start out with, I have an 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece of 110 pound cardstock. I will score that at a 4 1/4 and then press that up into my scoring tool and give that a nice burnish. And that is our card base. So for my second layer, I have a thinner piece of cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 4 inches, and I will adhere that to the front of my card. The reason I used 2 different weights of cardstock is because we're going to cut out the center, and I want to make it a little bit easier on myself to go through the die cutting machine. Just pressing that down with washi tape, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've cut that out, and I'm going to set that round piece aside so that I can do some ink blending on it, just making sure there's nothing sticky on there. And there we go. So now we need to add the center of the card, and that piece is 8 by 5 1/4, and I will score it at 4 inches and then at 6 inches. I'll just use my scoring tool to press that into the corner so that I get a nice crisp edge all lined up. So for the first score line, we fold in, and for the second score line, we fold out. And I'm going to give this a couple more presses. I want that to be a nice crisp line. And then we are just going to be adding this to the inside of our card, making sure it's centered. Press that down really well. And that is the inside of our card. So now we're going to add an image and our sentiment. So I'm using my Misty. And I've already added my stamp and my sentiment stamp to the Misty. Got a pretty good idea where it needs to be. And I'm using Versamark ink, which gives a really nice crisp stamping image to the inside of the card. Works really well. If I were going to be coloring, which I'm not, of course I would be using the Memento ink. Pressing that down really well. And don't we love this Misty tool? Game changer for stamping. And the ink is still a little wet, so I'm going to set that aside to dry. And now we can work on our island. So the ink blending that I will be doing is with Distress Oxide inks. I used Pick Raspberry, Squeeze Lemonade, and Ripe Persimmon. Really pretty combination for an island sunset. The island die was cut out of white glitter, and I'm just kind of placing that to give myself an idea of where I need to end my ink blending. And I'm using masking tape to mask that edge off. And I'll just add a little bit more tape to the back of my circle so that doesn't shift when I'm doing my blending. I'll start out with a squeezed lemonade and add that sort of to the circle or center of the circle. And then I'll use ripe persimmon, and that comes in a little heavy-handed. Probably have more on there than I need, but I'll go back in with a squeezed lemonade. And I'm so sorry that that table is wiggling. It is a great table to work on, but it does wiggle when I do blending. And now I've got picked raspberry. I'm doing the outer edges. And I will go back in with more of the squeezed lemonade. I don't have to be too particular about the blending on this because the island die is going to cover most of it up. I want to make sure that that island, those palm trees don't go past the circle. The first thing I'm going to do, or next thing I'm going to do, is add a little bit of white specks to my sky. So I'm just have a dedicated acrylic block that I will add more of this Copic white to, and a little bit of water. And I will just flick that onto my sunset sky. And after setting that aside and letting it dry, I will add more of that masking tape. So I have a place now to add the ocean. And the ocean was done with salvaged patina, Distress Oxide ink. Such a pretty ocean color. And this is really easy. I didn't even do any blending of colors on this. Just, it's not, there's so little ocean on this that I didn't really have to worry about that. There we go. All right. So I'll add my, did I mention that I cut this out of glitter cardstock? I thought it was really pretty. And add a little bit of liquid adhesive to this, making sure I get all those pom fronds. And again, making sure that that palm tree isn't going past the edge of the circle. I'm going to trim off that right side. And that's our little background. So now we just need to add that to the card. And to do so, I'm going to fold in that inner part and then add liquid adhesive to that edge, making sure I don't get any glue anywhere else. I want to make sure my horizon is nice and straight. Press that down. Cute. Okay, now we get to decorate the outside of the card. So I will be doing more ink blending. I'm not going to show you how I do all of the leaves, but I will show you later how I do a few of them. I'm also going to share with you how I do the hibiscus flowers. So I did use a lighter pink. This is Kitsch Flamingo, but I did it with the with the squeezed lemonade also. Really pretty pastel colors. So I have these kind of pouncy brushes, which work really well for more of the intricate blending. Starting in the center, I'm adding the Kitsch Flamingo, and then I'll take that squeezed lemonade and flick that out to the outer edges. And because pink and yellow kind of make an orangey color, which is also in our background, it's a really pretty combination. I want more of the pink in the center, so just pouncing that back in. And now I can also do the centers to my hibiscus. I think those are stamens. If I'm wrong, let me know. So I'm just using the squeezed lemonade on there again, and nothing too special, or no serious ink blending there. Close that up, set it aside, and then I'm going to also add those white specks to the hibiscus flowers. I think it helps to make them a little bit more realistic. And that just needs to dry for a little bit. Clean up this mess. Just have a spray bottle with water in it and a dish rag and wipe that up. Now I'm going to do a few of the leaves. The leaves, again, are from the Tropical Leaves die set. There's 2 pieces in it. I've used both of them. So I'm just using Rustic Wilderness on the center. And then I'll come in with that Twisted Citron for the edges. I think that's a really pretty contrast with that darker green and then the yellowy green on the edges. I'm just flicking that out using these brushes. So easy and very fast. And I want more definition, so I'm going to go back in a little bit heavier with that Rustic Wilderness, flicking it out towards the edges. I don't want to lose the contrast of those 2 colors though, so I'm not going too far out. A little bit more. Alrighty, clean that mess up again. And now I can put my flowers together. So I'm just going to add a little dab of dew to the center of the flowers. And then I can sort of fluff these flowers up a little bit. I should have waited a little bit for this one to dry, but it all worked out. And that is it. Now I'm going to adhere my little hippo and enjoy to the front of the card. That enjoy it comes in 2 parts. So the letters and then that outside piece. And I just cut 2 of them, blend the background in the same colors, the same Distress Oxide colors, and then add the white layer on top of it. Super easy. All right, I'm adding my hippo. He's going to go for a little evening swim. And I'm being careful to add the adhesive to the left side, making sure not to end up with any adhesive going onto our island. It would, of course, interfere with the card opening and closing. And for the enjoy, I'm going to use a little bit of foam adhesive. And again, you want to be careful not to get any adhesive onto the island piece. when I was making this card, I thought, oh, this would be perfect for my daughter and her family who just got back from Hawaii last week. And I was also thinking how much I need a vacation. We haven't been to Hawaii since my daughter was in high school, and now she has a 16-year-old, so it's been a while. So adding that again down below, a couple of more pieces on the Y and the J. So that looks good. Go ahead and press that down. And then I can start adding my flowers and leaves to the top. And everything still works. Just to make sure, one more time. Okay. So I'm not a florist, so forgive me while I play around a little bit here. End up adding 3 flowers and a few of the leaves. Tuck that one in behind. Again, I'm just using liquid adhesive. I think that works best for these die cuts. I'm not popping anything up. They have a lot of dimension on their own. I think the 3 flowers look really good together. Nice combination of colors, and I think the ink blending is super easy. And I think that should do it. So everything works. And I'm very happy with the way it turned out. I will add some stickles to my flower petals later. Thinking maybe one more flower and a leaf. But no, I'm gonna, in the end, keep it simple. And that's it. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please give this a try. And if you do, let me know what you think. Bye-bye.